The Shroud of Turin and the hidden code that artificial intelligence just awakened. A journey from the laboratory through history to the frontier between science and the unexplainable. A piece of cloth that challenges the entire technological age we have flown to the moon. We have decoded the human genome. We are creating artificial intelligence that can write, draw, compose music, and argue with us. And yet, for more than a century, humanity has stood perplexed before something that seems utterly simple, a linen cloth more than 4 meters long, known as the Shroud of Turin. On that cloth is the faint image of a man who endured a brutally violent death, whipped, crowned with thorns, nailed to a cross, his side pierced with a spear. For many Christians, this is the burial shroud that wrapped the body of Jesus Christ. For many skeptics, it is nothing more than the handiwork of a skillful medieval artist. But whichever side you take, the shroud refuses to behave like a normal relic. The more it is studied, the more researchers fall into a maze of data contradictions and new questions. And then in the age of exploding AI, people threw this cloth into the blazing furnace of supercomputers and neural networks. No one expected that at that very moment, the mystery would deepen. Artificial intelligence did not close the debate. It blew it wide open and added an entirely new layer. The first shock, a cloth that takes negative photos before photography existed. In 1898, an Italian lawyer named Secondo Pia was granted permission to photograph the Shroud of Turin. At that time, photography was still a new, cumbersome technique full of chemicals and experimentation. Pia took the photos, brought the plates into his darkroom, and began developing them as usual. Then he froze in shock. On the glass negative, there appeared a clear human face. Not a vague, inverted smear of colors, but a sharp, realistic portrait. That meant the shroud itself was functioning as a photographic negative, hundreds of years before humanity invented photography. No one in the Middle Ages knew anything about negative-positive image concepts. So how could the image on the cloth have been encoded according to the visual logic of a technology that simply did not yet exist? That was only the first layer of mystery. And an image thin as breath, yet surviving centuries. When scientists began examining the shroud under the microscope, a series of unique and puzzling features emerged. The image appears only on the outermost fibers of the linen, to a depth of just a few hundred nanometers, so thin that a human hair is about 400 times thicker. There are no signs of soaking, bleeding, or pooling like ink or paint. There are no brush strokes, no outlines, no textures resembling a painting. The color seems to come from a very slight chemical change in the cellulose molecules on the fiber's surface, altering their shade without destroying their structure. Scientific teams tried every conceivable way to reproduce the image, heating a metal sculpture and pressing cloth onto it, using acid pigments, charcoal powder, bombarding with UV light plasma electrical discharges. They could sometimes mimic one or two features, a faint image somewhat shallow on the surface. But no one has reproduced all of the characteristics at once. A naturally negative image. An image depth of just a few hundred nanometers, no pigments, no brush traces, and long-term stability through fire, humidity, and time. The shroud looks much more like the result of some physical chemical phenomenon than of an artist's hand. VP8 and the 3D reveal. When the cloth behaves like spatial data. In the 1970s, researchers used a device called the VP8 image analyzer, originally developed to process planetary surface images for NASA. They fed an image of the shroud into the machine. What happened stunned them. For normal photographs, VP8 produces distorted 3D reliefs because 2D images don't carry true depth information. For the shroud, however, the analyzer produced a stable 3D relief map of a body-nose bridge. Eye sockets, forehead, chest, hands, all appeared naturally shaped as if scanned by a depth sensor. What does this mean? The light-dark values on the shroud vary linearly with the distance between the body and the cloth. Areas closer to the cloth, stronger signal. Areas further away, weaker signal. Unlike paintings where light and shadow are artistic illusions here, they encode real geometric information. In other words, the shroud stores spatial data, not just a flat picture. How could a counterfeiter in the 13th or 14th century, with no concept of photography, no knowledge of 3D data analysis, have painted by hand an image that 700 years later, NASA-related hardware reads as depth data? To this day, that question has no satisfying answer. 1988. When science thought it had nailed the coffin shut in 1988, many believed that science had finally closed the case. A small sample of cloth was cut from one corner of the shroud and divided among 3 renowned laboratories, Oxford, Zurich, and Arizona. They used the then state-of-the-art method of radiocarbon dating carbon-14. Their results agreed the cloth was woven between 1260 and 1390 AD. The global press quickly ran with headlines, "The Shroud of Turin is a medieval fake." Anyone who disagreed was branded as religious blind faith opposing science. But then, a few years later, critical voices began to emerge quietly, at first then louder. The sample had been taken from an area that had been handled and displayed the most, i.e., where contamination repairs and reweaving were most likely. The shroud had survived a major fire in 1532, suffering scorched holes and burnt edges. Afterwards, nuns repaired the damage with new cloth and reweaving techniques. A crucial detail, the carbon-14 sample from 1988 was taken right next to an area known to have been repaired. Chemist Raymond Rogers, part of a 1978 shroud research project, later obtained fibers from that same region and compared them with fibers from the main body of the cloth. Sample fibers contained plant gum cotton fibers and dye. Main shroud fibers pure linen, no gum, no dyed cotton. Rogers concluded the 1988 sample came from a medieval repair patch, not representative of the whole shroud's age. It's like taking a piece of fresh patching plaster from an ancient building, testing its age, then declaring, "This entire structure is only a few decades old." Later, other methods, vibrational spectroscopy, X-ray analysis, cellulose aging studies, produced results compatible with a first-century origin, or roughly within 0 to 400 AD. But because these methods lack the statistical authority and publicity of radiocarbon dating, the controversy continued. AI enters the game, and everything takes a new turn. While scholars kept arguing about the age of the cloth, another research group decided to sidestep that question entirely. They did not cut new fibers. They did not touch carbon-14 again. Instead, they took ultra-high-resolution scans of the shroud, converted them into a massive data matrix, and fed them into deep neural networks, plus principal component analysis (PCA). The task they gave AI was brutally neutral. Don't care who this is or what religion says. Just find mathematical patterns hidden in the shroud's light-dark data. And that's where things got strange. As the face fades, a pure data field appears. With PCA, AI does what it does best: strip out noise, reveal underlying structure, and separate decorative layers from the principal components of the data. Surprisingly, the human figure, the very thing the human eye always focuses on, fades in these principal components. In its place, AI sees a field of light-dark distribution, obeying a highly stable mathematical law, more like a physical equation than a painting, no longer a suffering face. Through AI's lens, the shroud becomes a consistently encoded intensity distance map across the entire surface. In simple terms, the darkness of each pixel systematically corresponds to an imagined distance to some underlying 3D surface. Exactly like a model of cloth draped over a body, then exposed to an internal burst of energy. This is no longer a matter of good or bad painting technique. It is the behavior of measured data. Bait, a geometric symphony hidden in the Flax AI, didn't stop there. When researchers asked it to search for symmetries and recurring ratios, something even more remarkable appeared. The distance between the eyes, the ratio of hand length to forearm. the curvature of the chest and rib cage, all fell into precise geometric proportions, as if an invisible framework existed first, and the image was later filled in. People have compared this to musical harmony. Certain notes sound pleasing because their frequencies relate by beautiful ratios. Here, in the same way, distances and proportions on the shroud's body form a very harmonious chord of geometry. To check whether AI was merely seeing faces in clouds, so to speak, researchers fed it images of other ancient textiles and medieval paintings, icons, photographs. The result? None of those showed a deep repeating system of symmetries and ratios comparable to the shroud. These geometric harmonies appear to be unique. If a medieval artist created this, that individual was not only a master painter, but also a mathematician, a physicist, an optical scientist, and somehow executed an almost perfect algorithm on cloth at the nanometer scale that has remained consistent over centuries. That possibility is all but impossible. And the shroud, not just a relic, but a phenomenon, summing up the data, a naturally negative image. An image limited to a surface depth of a few hundred nanometers. No pigments, no brushstrokes. Encoded 3D information, readable by VP8. AI detected distance intensity laws resembling an energy space model. I detected geometric symmetries and ratios absent in other cloths and images. Whether you think the cloth is a genuine first-century relic of Jesus or a medieval forgery, you still face a paradox. By what natural or manual means could one produce an image that is at once ultra-thin, ultra-subtle, and yet contains such complex mathematical spatial structures so advanced that only modern AI can detect it? One physicist commented, "The shroud doesn't behave like an artwork. It behaves like a phenomenon. If it is indeed a phenomenon, new questions surface. Is it a natural phenomenon, not yet identified? Some kind of energy emission that physics has not described? Or is it the physical trace of a unique event, a one-time occurrence, tied to the moment a body vanished from within the cloth?" Current science has no definite answer. Yet the very silence and helplessness of existing models are what make many people shudder. Hypotheses that open doors, but none walk all the way through. Serious researchers are cautious about proclaiming miracle. They try to build physical hypotheses to explain the image. Corona discharge hypothesis, a strong electric field around the body, causes electrical discharge into the cloth, inducing a slight chemical change on the outer fibers and leaving a very shallow scorch image. UV flash hypothesis. An ultra-intense, ultra-short UV flash engraves the image onto the cloth at the molecular level. Unknown. Radiation hypothesis. Some yet unclassified form of energy, directional and distance-dependent, explains the correlation of light-dark with depth. But every experimental attempt so far either damages the fabric's structure or fails to produce an image that is simultaneously shallow, 3D accurate, and geometrically harmonious, or cannot withstand long-term aging tests. There is no single hypothesis that fits all the data at once. The shroud remains like a complex problem with too many constraints. Any solution failing just one constraint is discarded. Dinner, ancient tech, or fingerprint of the transcendent. Once, AI uncovered a hidden geometric code. Some dared to ask a bold question. Are we looking at a kind of ancient information technology encoded in flax fibers in a way we still don't understand? That sounds like science fiction, but the idea arises directly from the data. The shroud behaves like a data record, not just a picture. The data encodes 3D shape, proportion, structure, and remains stable over time. Others push further into theology. If this is the cloth that covered the body of a man whom billions believe to be the Son of God, then the energy geometry pattern AI sniffs out could be the physical echo of the resurrection itself, a transformation of matter that current physics cannot yet model. Of course, science does not get to declare this is a miracle. Its job is to observe the phenomenon, describe it accurately, and test all plausible natural models. But when all plausible natural models fail, some scientists openly admit, we do not know. And this not knowing is exactly what makes it worth studying further. And when artificial intelligence becomes a neutral witness, what's fascinating is that AI has no religious faith and no skeptical agenda. It doesn't like Jesus, nor does it hate the church. AI simply sees matrices of numbers, statistical patterns, ratios, correlations. When it says things like, there is a consistent intensity-distance law here, there are deep, beautifully repeating geometric ratios here. These are mathematical conclusions, not theological opinions. The irony. The 1988 carbon-14 test, once hailed as science's final gavel, is now seriously questioned by scientists themselves. Meanwhile, AI, the most advanced child of modern science, has revealed features that make it difficult to keep dismissing the shroud as just a medieval fake with a straight face. What does the shroud say to people in the age of AI? Perhaps the real issue is not, is the shroud truly the burial cloth of Jesus? Though that remains a profoundly captivating question. But this, a piece of cloth woven centuries ago, has forced both science and faith to become more humble. In a world drunk on big data, gigantic AI models, and the feeling that we are close to understanding everything, the shroud quietly reminds us, there are data sets that grow more mysterious the more you analyze them. There are phenomena that science can describe very well, yet still struggle to fully explain. There are truths that brush up against the boundary between matter and the metaphysical. If you are a believer, you may see the shroud as a sign. An event left its signature on cloth, and only in the age of AI can we read a fragment of it. If you are a skeptic, you still have ample reasons to be fascinated. This is a fiendishly hard problem in physics, chemistry, geometry, and data science worthy of many generations of researchers. And if you stand somewhere in between belief and doubt, the shroud can serve as an invitation. Don't rush to a verdict. Allow yourself to dwell a little longer in the land of questions. Code not only written in numbers, but in conscience. AI can detect ratios, symmetries, rules of intensity fall-off, subtle mathematical structures in every pixel of the cloth. But there is one thing it cannot read: the meaning of the suffering imprinted there. The shroud, authentic or not, still portrays a person whipped until his skin is torn, wearing a crown of thorns, nailed to a cross, pierced in the side, with a strangely serene face in the midst of violence. This data is not just nanometers, photons, and grayscale values. It is a question addressed to each of us. How do we respond to suffering and injustice? What do we do when confronted with a love willing to bear loss for others? Do we believe that life is nothing but chemistry and mathematics? Or is there something beyond numbers that every AI will always be blind to? Artificial intelligence has uncovered in the shroud a mysterious mathematical order. But what keeps this cloth alive in humanity's imagination is not a numeric code, but the silhouette of a man on a cross, and the question, if that is the one who loved the world to such an extent, how will I live my life? Perhaps the deepest code of the shroud is not woven into flax fibers, but written in how each of us chooses to answer that question for ourselves.
It is in this moment of contemplation that we are invited to decide what kind of life we